welcome to episode 27 of the Brewgooders Dynamic Duo of Beer and Comics podcast. We are currently really enjoying our first beer, which is from Bradfield's Brewery in Sheffield. These beautiful beers were given to us by the lovely people at Goshaway Comics at a recent comic convention. This one's called Farmer's Brown Cow, which is a brown Swiss beer.
I'm quite liking it. It's, I expected it to taste a bit like a Newcastle brown ale, a little bit, but it's not really. Nice,
it
nice
looks and smells like
chestnutty. Yeah,
I was expecting the same.
Yeah, but it's not. It's much more refreshing, lighter, maybe a bit dry, but very pleasant, refreshing.
Very creamy is the word you used, which I don't know if that's why they've maybe put the cow on the
Perhaps,
the brown, but 4.4%, so perfectly sessionable. I quite like the idea. They've made a point on the bottle pointing out that the Bradfield Brewery is based on a working farm. I think that's quite funky as well. And it was just really nice that Goshaway gave us beers.
Yeah, I don't know how easy it's going to be to get a hold of this beer. You know, if you're looking out for it. But hey, if you're in that neck of the woods, Peak District, isn't it?
Yeah, they do have a website, so you may be able to deliver. We'll have a look. Mm-hmm. But we'll put the website up on.
Yeah. We have a few more of those their beers, so we'll check them out in future weeks.
On the podcast, yeah, absolutely.
But rather enjoying it.
Yeah. What comic do you have for this week?
Oh well, I have a special preview of Pirate Fun: The Second Trial. So
very jealous.
Yeah, I got a copy from Colin Bell, who's the writer and letterer, I should say. So this is on Kickstarter just now.
Yeah.
So this is the second in the Pirate Fun series, which is in itself a sequel to Dungeon Fun.
That's all so good.
So Dungeon Fun came out years ago. I mean, even Pirate Fun Part 1 came out years ago. You know, they're taking their time releasing this.
I find Dungeon Fun's like a gateway comic for me.
It's a good series. So if you haven't come across it before, it's an all ages comic. Dungeon Fun. It's about a girl called Fun Mudlifter who is raised from a baby by a family of trolls who live in the moat of a castle.
Yep.
And there's a troll keeps throwing things into the moat, and they fall in the people who live.
Society's kind of built on the things that fall
in. Yeah, absolutely. And one day the sword appears, lands in the thing, and it's a gateway to adventure. And it comes with a ghostly former owner as well, who accompanies Fun on her adventures. Yeah. And it's all kind of loosely based on Colin and Neil's love of video games, particularly the Zelda games. Yeah. So it's kind of based around going on an adventure, having a big boss battle, having another adventure, another level if you like, having a big boss battle and stuff. But there's a hell of a lot more to it. A lot of really fun, interesting characters along the way.
A lot of like backstory and stuff going on behind the scenes.
Because we don't know who Fun is, we don't know anything about her, and she begins to learn a bit more about her family and her background and stuff. But anyway, Pirate Fun. Bit of a spoiler, because at the end of Dungeon Fun, she discovers that her parents were pirates. So decides that she's going to become a pirate in order to discover more about her parents. Fortunately, issue 2 does have a quick rundown of what happened in issue 1.
Yep.
So explain a wee bit about that.
That's quite interesting in itself. I've got a copy of Pirate Fun, but it's in black and white.
So you've got the early release edition.
They were signing them at
that's right.
Local Shop of Heroes last year. Yeah. But even to see like panels from the previous edition in colour is quite incredible.
Yeah. So anyway, to become a pirate, she has to take part in 3 different trials. So the first issue was the first trial, which involved filling in a lot of forms. Doesn't sound like fun, but it actually was. And then this is the second trial, which is a bit more complicated and involves this big giant bird, which we see there as well. Okay, so not too much of a spoiler. It's a continuation of the story, really, as Fun tries to become a pirate, so she can discover the background of her parents. And she encounters a whole host of fun pirate characters along the way who burst into sea shanties at every opportunity.
So good.
And there's a few new character who's kind of a Peter Pan type character. Philip Fun, his name is.
Okay.
Whether that's got any relevance
Yeah, I was
to
gonna say,
the whole story or not, I don't know. It's a nice fun romp for any ages, really.
I want to point out that it is very much for any. I bought I bought Dungeon Fun as a, I don't know, I thought me and Sean could read it together and enjoy it. I find my oldest son enjoys comics more when he's able to chat about them, and we've got a whole podcast. It's something I enjoy doing as well. So I gave him Dungeon Fun, and we both adore it. Like, we both love it. And then the fact when I bought Pirate Fun for the two of us as well, and we both adore that as well. And we're very much looking forward to part two. It is. I think like the best sort of all ages stuff, it pitches jokes at different levels. So like, it's bright and it's colourful and it's a bit silly, which appeals to the younger ages. But there is kind of subtle.
It's got the female protagonist as well, which draws more girls in, but it doesn't detract boys at all because the type of adventuring is very much Zelda video gamey type stuff. So kids can see the tie-in.
It reminds me a wee bit of I'm trying to think what sort of like a mainstream. It reminds me in many ways of something like the very first time I saw the first Shrek movie, in that kind of like it's set in like quite a familiar. You said like obviously it was based on kind of like the Zelda.
Yeah.
I find if you do read it, you do notice that the place and the sort of the setting of the comic and the characters that fill that world is all quite familiar, but. It sort of recognises that, it references, it's giving you a wee wink as if it knows, we know this, absolutely. And as a result that makes, as an adult, that makes that quite enjoyable, and it knows it's a bit silly, it knows it's a bit funny. It even makes, I can't remember off the top of my head a specific example, but it does seem to, there are bits where fun that like openly gets a bit meta, and she's like, right, this is a bit ridiculous, go on now. It is great, it's really, really good.
So if you want a copy, as soon as it comes out, it's on Kickstarter, at least for another few days anyway. It will likely get funded easily because it's
I've not checked to see if it is funded. I do like to. That's one of my favourite things to do Kickstarter.
It was at least halfway through. After just a few days, I think it opened on Saturday or something on Kickstarter. So well done, guys. Good comic. Looking forward to the rest of the series in another 10 years' time.
Awesome.
So we're on our second beer, which was something we picked up at Hotel Chocolat, so the premium chocolate chain all around the country. So this is the Cocoa Blonde, a West Indian IPA. What can we say about this? It's brewed with cacao shells, cocoa shells, so it certainly has a bit of a slightly chocolatey smell.
It's very light though, it's not...
not hardly anything. It's not like overpowering like a chocolate stout.
Yeah, I was going to say, but I think of chocolate beers, I think of like your stouts or your...
Ever so slightly, and a bit of tropically fruit flavours,
mango,
smell,
passion fruity.
You're getting a lot in the aroma. In the taste, it's less so.
We said earlier, we've had a few beers where they we've reviewed in the past where the idea and the sort of gimmick of the beer is all in the smell, and then you taste it, we're now back to a standard kind of, and it's lovely. And
it's good enough. Kind of just expected a little more.
I was expecting
from a slightly expensive beer.
I would imagine, because you're paying for the label, aren't you? You're paying for the...
So it's a wee bit dearer than perhaps something you would pick up at your supermarket. Personally, it's a little disappointing. I'm not saying it's terrible though. It's a decent enough beer that you would drink. But I think I expected a little more.
It's all in the smell, and there's a nice kind of creamy cocoa, like that aftertaste that you would get quite after a considerable amount of time eating chocolate. Like it's not got that total intense aftertaste of eating a bar of chocolate or
yeah.
But there is like I'm like I can kind of feel it in my mouth. There is a kind of chocolatey. And I like it. You just want more from it. And yeah, it's all the it's all in the nose. The nice bits of it are all in the nose. They're not in and then it's just in our beer, like you say.
Yeah. So it's decent enough, but I think for the money I could have probably bought a couple of beers.
Yeah.
And I would have been happier with.
A nicer experience.
But it's not going to stop me drinking it.
Oh please. I would like to review this. Obviously we talked about how Pirate Fun is on Kickstarter at the moment. I recently purchased I don't know if that's going to work. I'll have to edit that later. I recently purchased The Legend of Mariposa, The Demon Gauntlet by James Lawrence, and it's absolutely incredible. Why is that doing that on the screen? Sorry, this is making terrible radio for our audio listeners, but I showed the cover off my tablet onto our and if you're seeing this you can see what I mean.
We'll do something in post.
We'll do something in post
to get that.
So I discovered The Legend of Mariposa through Colin. You brought me back one of the previous editions of the comic, and I fell in love with the character. I'm a big wrestling fan, big comic fan, a big kind of like years ago I tried to break into the world of wrestling with a luchador kind of character. So it's the Mexican wrestling scene's one that I'm particularly fond of.
You wore a pair of pants.
I did wear a pair of pants, and it worked for the 6 months in 2015 that I tried to make it work. I just love Mexican wrestling, and I love comics, and I love the for those that are unfamiliar with Mexican wrestling, it's not really, you don't really need to get it to enjoy the comic by any means, but the idea behind Mexican wrestling in particular is that all the it's kind of a generational thing in wrestling, so like you'll find particularly Mexican wrestling or South American wrestlers are the third generation of within families and things like that, and this is kind of referencing this and that masks are things that you hand down by generation. So La Mariposa is trying to break into this world, and she I previously reviewed a kind of a spin-off comic in the main series about a group called the Sons of Justice, who in the Legend of La Mariposa are kind of like a superhero squad of luchador wrestlers who La Mariposa, our key protagonist, she wants to be a member of this group. And so she shows up at their headquarters and it's like, in this series it's 140 odd pages. She goes in and she's like, look, I want to be a member of your organisation, and she gets put by the resident sort of mystical member of the group. He puts her on a bit of a fool's errand just to try and get rid of her, called the Demon Gauntlet, and it's she has to go and have a fight with numerous big bosses in order to defeat them, and then as prize for winning the combat, she gets given their mask. She collects 4 of these, and she can.
Incidentally, Pirate Fun is kind of along the same lines.
It's similar.
The pirate chiefs are trying to stop her really from becoming a pirate. So these trials she has to do are kind of like just stupid, made up things that they don't think that she's going to achieve.
Yeah, totally.
So there's some
there's a lot of similarities
there.
But this is I just really enjoyed it. So it's set up in parts. There's five chapters, if you will, and every chapter is her with an intro and outro and all the additions and stuff. It's her just each chapter is her fighting a different boss. Which just the character design on this stuff is really good. I've turned in the lighting on this to try and make this work. So for example, in each there's like a theme behind the theme behind each of the people she has to combat. So this is there's the water guy. That still hasn't worked. That's annoying. So there's like a guy a water guy. There's a flying bat guy. And she just has to fight them all and just try and win their masks. Every time she goes into combat, this what were they called? An armadillo and one of these Festival of the Dead kind of skeleton kind of figures. Yeah. They show up behind a commentary desk and start chatting. And if you're a wrestling if you're a wrestling fan, you will pull more enjoyment out of this, I imagine. If you're a comic wrestling fan, you will love this. But I imagine if you're a wrestling fan, you can look at it and be like, hey, that's kind of funny, I like what they're trying to do there. If you're a comic fan, there's loads of stuff going on in here as well that you can enjoy. It's stunning. It's drawn really, really well. It's actually quite heartfelt at one point. There's a really interesting dynamic, eventually a really interesting dynamic between La Mariposa and the commentary team, because they just keep showing up, and initially they were there to annoy her, and they annoy, they're niggling at her. If you know your wrestling, there tends to be two roles within wrestling commentators. There's the colour commentator who is so it's like play-by-play guy who'll go, oh, that was a good punch, oh, that was a good kick, and there's a colour commentator who's there to put character and colour into what you're watching, and he'll be the guy to go, oh, if he doesn't do this, his mum's going to be really unhappy and all that sort of stuff. And they play on that. Riff James is obviously a massive wrestling fan,
clearly.
and he plays on this, but it works really, really well. And there's just some interesting twists, there's turns, some really heartfelt stuff. There's even quite I think a surprisingly pronounced debate on what free will is at one point as well. It's just really, really cool. I felt like you were, if you were watching, if every previous edition of La Mariposa was kind of like an epic TV episode, this was like the motion picture, and it was just wonderful. And I got it for $5 on PDF by doing a Kickstarter. The Kickstarter's now finished. I don't know. I'm still kind of new to the Kickstarter world, so I don't know if you could go in now and. I know some people. Am I right in thinking some Kickstarter people will say like, you can add on at the back?
No, there can be a link usually on the page that might take you to where you can currently buy it.
And there's stuff like that. But I do know that it's due to come out in sort of trade paperbacks or editions in the future, and you should really, really check it out. I was really proud to be reading it, because I was like, we obviously made I made a financial commitment to get this made, and that commitment was also, it's a really cool thing about Kickstarter for those that have, it's happened before for me, but you are thanked often. You are thanked by the writer or the creators of the comic, and obviously I put us through as the Brewgooders, so there is a really cool thing on the second last page of the comic that says like lists all the many thanks, and then you can see the Brewgooders there. So to be personally associated with such an amazing comic is really cool. You really need to check out I can get up you can find the La Mariposa stuff quite easy through a Google search. But yeah, James Lawrence, La Mariposa. I'm going to try one more time for our viewer to just turn the lighting down and see if that makes a difference. There we go. Kind of, yeah. So The Legend of La Mariposa, it just is a stunning book. Iconography is great. It's just, everyone needs to read this. And revel in how awesome it is. Cool.
Yeah, I'm not a wrestling fan, but the couple of bits I have read, I really enjoyed. I'm looking forward to reading the full thing.
Awesome. Okay. So we've done a comic each, haven't we?
We've done a comic each, we've done a beer each.
Is that the end of our...
That's at the end of episode 27.
Just
like that.
These episodes used to be longer, and we're trying this kind of streamlined version, and it seems to be working quite nicely.
What we've got coming up that we should mention this week, Glasgow Forbidden Planet, new shop is opening. Yeah,
so we'll hopefully have this out before time of recording. Yeah. But before time of opening, but time of recording, on the 9th of November, which is Saturday the 9th, they're opening a new Forbidden Planet.
In Sauchiehall Street in Glasgow, so going from the wee store to I think a 2-level store.
Oh, big exciting.
So I expect there'll be big queues. I don't know if they've got anything planned, like any guests or anything. I haven't seen anything yet. But we're kind of hoping that they might have
Forbidden
something.
Planets are really nice. The one in Edinburgh is really good. The one in Glasgow always felt just a bit cramped, and everything was kind of squeezed together.
It needs a bigger store, let's face it.
I went into London with Sean, my oldest, a couple of months ago, and we went to the Forbidden Planet in central London. It's incredible.
Yeah,
it's so big and vast,
place,
and so I'm really hoping that we're going to... I'm quite excited to think that we might have something quite similar.
Yeah, I think that they're wanting to have an event store where they can have things like signings and stuff, because the previous store was just too small for that kind of thing. Although they did run them, it just took up their own place. So
good. So that's next week. We will have a beer. We'll be reviewing 2 other beers that we got. One more beer that we got given to us by Goshwell, which is awesome, and another one that Colin found on his travels.
My travels.
And then we're hoping to have, on the run up to Christmas, quite a lot of interesting things happen. including a tour of a brewery and an interview with another guest, like we had a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, it's all quite exciting stuff.
That's it then.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.